and we killing each other. That's every day. We don't want to hear that. Most of us ain't doing that, and yet we know this is what America does to us. But yet, when some of our white brothers and sisters hear yet a smattering of contradiction to what they might believe, they get up and lead a lecture, or they get up and leave the hall, and they get up and leave the American democratic process, and we say, stay. This is what we've been used to. This is what we got to do. We got to stay and fight our way through. We got to rethink what race means in America. And in rethinking race, we got to start with the fact that we can't always be hugging the surface. We got to get deep with it. So in rethinking race, we got to understand history. History means that we got to face some of the ugly stuff we've done. It's amazing that a lot of people point to people of color, Latinos or Asian brothers and sisters, other able brothers and sisters to a lesser degree, and they point to us and they say, pull yourself up by your bootstrap. You done had enough, that's what we do, you do it. The same nation that seems to be obsessed with responsibility don't want to take none for what it done did. So we say, if it's good for you to tell underclass people that, the overclass got to do it too. Now let me give an example.
Bring it.
Almost 5 years ago, down in New Orleans, a vicious wind and unruly water descended on the Gulf region. And there, all kind of vulnerable people were caught up in the storm. Poor white brothers and sisters, Latino brothers and sisters, Asian brothers and sisters. 40,000 Vietnamese shrimpers were there. 6 to 8 First Nation indigenous tribes stretched across that region. Some brown people and black folk. Poor. On television. Even my man Wolf Blitzer said they're so poor and they're so black. We knew what he meant. He was like, damn, they're just so black. He ain't meant no harm, he just calling it like he saw it. And they're down there saying, don't call me no refugee, I'm an American citizen. People asking why they didn't leave, because I ain't got no black card, I ain't got no green card, I ain't got no yellow card or gold card, I ain't got no credit card. Most of the folk ain't got no relatives because they live in a close proximity. They take family values seriously, so they live with each other and in the same neighborhood and create beautiful harmony with their food and their rhythm and their culture. So many of us have gone down there to live at their expense, had a good time in the Big Easy, while they cleaned our sheets and we never saw them. They were invisible to us. And then when they needed, yes, we gave a bunch of money, but boy, I tell you, the same old suspects, they're getting punished because God wanted to punish them. God wanted to punish them because they were poor and black and were on welfare. That's what somebody said. Then they were punishing them because they were gay, parades down there. I mean, does God have good eyesight? I mean, if God is doing it on that tip, how about San Francisco? I mean, you know, and if God is going to punish some black folk who ain't doing well, God probably would have started with Detroit. Some people think God has neglected Detroit. I'm from the D. Be easy on that. West Side, you heard? D-E-T-R-O-I-T-C. We from the West Side because we beat the one like that. We got rings, y'all ain't got knee, but that's all right. LeBron James trying to get a ring. We got 2. So don't look down your nose, baby boo, because we gonna kill you. Okay. Thing is, be laughing at Detroit, but some people think God done abandoned Detroit already. Left it behind. You make God a co-signer of your bigotry. You make God a cosigner of your hatred? You make God punish an entire geography? Because God doesn't like gay people, so God would kill innocent babies? To kill gay people? What kind of God is that? Not a God I know or could worship. So, folks said they ought to pull themselves up by their bootstraps, and then, a few years later, another tsunami hit. Except it was in New York, on Wall Street. That economic tsunami hit there, and those same folk, those same big businessmen, and those same big corporations, we're talking about pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Big corporations taking handouts, the notorious AIG up in the spot. They own the stimulus plan. First George Bush gave it out, then Obama. I ain't seen none of them turn it down. Why don't you go to pull yourself up by your bootstraps now? Why don't you talk about your American ingenuity now? Why don't you talk about doing it by yourself now? You on welfare, corporate welfare, collective welfare. That's what you doing. And so, if we gonna rethink this thing, we got to deal with history. Not history to point a finger, not history to indict, not history to dog nobody, but history to clarify. Because when folk keep saying, you know, black folk done got over because they got affirmative action. Ain't been but affirmative action for 35 years, y'all. Now, it ain't really, comparatively speaking, that long. And affirmative action ain't what you think it is. Right? Affirmative action don't mean we got somebody inferior trying to get a job over somebody who's superior. What we're trying to say with affirmative action is you done had to hook up for like 350 years. Can we get some merit-based action going on here? Now, there's some folk who then been dropped out and left out and closed out, and they got the same test score you be having. Right? They in the same ballpark of what you doing. So given the competition over scarce resources of two equally qualified candidates, we give the nod to the historically underrepresented, not because they ain't qualified, but because histories and generations of people who have been similarly qualified coming from their group have been disallowed to compete, and as a result, you got an unnatural, unjust leg up over the competition. Now it's time to share the sandlot with the other kids. You tell me if LeBron James came along 70 years ago, you wouldn't know his name. Oh, he could be Bron, Bronny, Lay-B, El Brizzy, and you wouldn't have known his name, except among the Negro League. Boy, there was a boy 6'8". That boy looked like a man when he was 15 years old. That Negro could leap like he was Superman. He could beat an enemy down like he was Batman. He could fend off defenders like he was Iron Man. He was incredible. Oh, Grandpa, you tripping. He ain't as good as Larry Bird. No disrespect to El Breezy. And so if LeBron didn't get a chance to compete, you don't know nothing about LeBron. You don't know nothing about taking off from the top of the key and jamming the ball. You don't know nothing about those vicious windmill dunks. You don't know nothing about those three-pointers being hit like he's unconscious. You don't know nothing about rolling up on the inside with 4 defenders hanging on him and then going to the hole to drop it down because he would not be allowed to compete. Affirmative action says, let the LeBron James of the world compete. Now your immediate response is, excuse me, Dr. Dyson. but everybody ain't LeBron. True.